$8,000 for a 30 horsepower outboard. That's the number a viewer left under a video like this one, and dozens of people agreed with him. The motor now costs more than the boat. And every few months, another headline promises a Chinese engine that's about to fix all of it. So here's the question nobody in this genre is actually answering. Is any of that true? The story goes like this. A manufacturer in China builds an outboard for half of what Mercury charges. Dealers panic. Emergency memos go out. American manufacturing collapses. It's a good story. It's the same story we were told about televisions, about solar panels, about electric cars. And it has been true often enough that most people stop checking. So let's check. In the first quarter of 2026, Brunswick reported that Mercury's U.S. outboard market share rose 200 basis points. Propulsion sales climbed 17% year over year. At the Miami Boat Show, Mercury claims 60% overall share and 80% on-the-water share, and 70% at Palm Beach. Global and U.S. outboard unit orders were up more than 15%. Those are not the numbers of a company being destroyed. Those are the numbers of a company winning, and winning comfortably. Which raises a far more uncomfortable question than the one the thumbnails keep asking. Start with the engine at the center of all this. Parsun, Suzhou, founded in 2001. Go to the company's own product catalog and look at what it actually sells today. 4-stroke outboards from 2.6 horsepower up to 115. EPA and CE approved. Built in a plant covering more than 46,000 square meters. That's the ceiling. Not 350. Not a V8. 115. And even that model was an expansion, because for most of the company's history, 60 horsepower was the biggest thing it built. Hidea, the other name that keeps coming up, launched 115 and 130 EFI models in late 2024, with V6 units from 150 up to 200 announced for the year after. That's real progress, real engineering, and nowhere near the offshore engines the thumbnails keep showing you. The Chinese outboard invasion is real. It is simply happening somewhere else entirely. Look at the bottom of the market and the whole picture inverts. By 2006, Parsun had become China's top outboard exporter. Today it sells into more than 100 countries and turned over roughly $110 million last year across its petrol and electric operations. Hidea, founded in 2008 and settled into its current Hangzhou plant since 2014, runs annual capacity above 100,000 units and exports around 70% of what it builds to more than 80 countries. Those units are not hanging off center consoles in Florida. They are on skiffs in Nigeria, tenders in Greece, workboats in the Philippines, fishing boats in Brazil, dinghies across the Mediterranean. This is the part of the outboard market nobody makes videos about, because it is small motors on small boats owned by people without much money. It is also, by unit volume, most of the market. The takeover already happened. It just happened under 15 horsepower. And here is the detail that should trouble anyone still calling these engines knockoffs. Parsun's own company history traces its core technical team back to work on Outboard Marine Corporation components in the late 1990s, with collective experience reaching back to 1968. OMC, Johnson and Evinrude. The American names that ruled this industry for decades and then went bankrupt. The company also lists an American partner, Elco Motor Yachts, in its own corporate description. Under the video that inspired this one, someone asked where Evinrude and Johnson had gone. Here is part of the answer. That knowledge did not evaporate when the plants closed. It got hired. The expertise America stopped paying for now sits inside a company in Suzhou, selling motors in 100 countries. That is not theft. That is a transfer. And we signed it. And the company has not stood still since. Parsun claims dozens of invention patents and was among the first in China to build gasoline engines without cylinder liners and to put electronic fuel injection into small outboards. Which brings us to the smartest move anyone in this industry has made in 20 years. And it has nothing to do with artificial intelligence or satellites. It is widely recognized in the marine trade that many Hidea models are built on Yamaha's proven mechanical architecture. On popular units like the 15 and 40-horse two-strokes, internal components and service items interchange directly with Yamaha parts. Read that again. The company solved the parts problem before it became a problem, by making its engines compatible with the largest service network on Earth. No proprietary tooling. No 3-week wait on a water pump kit. Your local shop opens the box, recognizes what's inside, and gets on with it. And the rest of the engineering is bought in from people who already know how, with Delphi fuel injection on the EFI range and a 6-layer paint system aimed at saltwater corrosion. Everything else in this story is a spec sheet. That is a business model. Because the thing that actually kills an outboard in North America or Europe is not the first failure. It is the second one. A commenter under one of these videos put it more precisely than any analyst has managed. Manufacturers piled technology onto engines, he wrote, and forced everyone back to dealerships that charge whatever they like just to clear a code. He was describing Mercury and Yamaha, not China. That is exactly the point. The complaint was never about origin. It was about access. Buy anything, Japanese, American, or Chinese, whose diagnostics live behind software you cannot get, and you have bought a boat anchor with a warranty period attached. Another viewer went further, pointing out that an engine capable of being shut down wirelessly is a security problem, not a feature. The question that decides whether an engine is a bargain or a mistake is not horsepower per dollar. It is whether somebody within towing distance can plug into it in year 6. So what do the people who actually own the cheap stuff say? One longtime viewer described Parsun's small petrol water pumps as essentially a Honda design built in China. Same layout, thinner sheet metal, a flimsier pull start mechanism. And then the part everyone skips over. They run well. That is the honest version. Not garbage, not a miracle. Parsun's distributors cite over 500 hours of endurance testing on the range, and a bench test on every unit before it leaves the line, at prices they advertise as up to 30% under the established brands. But look at the warranty. 1 year through some dealers, against the 3 to 5 years the Japanese brands hand out without blinking. That gap is not an accident. It is a company telling you precisely how much risk it is willing to carry, and how much of it is being handed to you. Which is why, under every one of these videos, somebody points out that their 60-year-old two-stroke still starts and parts for it are still everywhere. Then there is the half-price claim, which has a habit of dying at the dealership door. A viewer on Australia's Gold Coast went and priced them after watching one of these videos, and found them coming in higher than Suzuki. Another compared a 300 horse against a Mercury and landed about $2,500 apart. Real money, nothing like half. A third simply asked where all these deals were supposed to be, because he had not seen one. The factory price and the price on your invoice are two different animals, separated by ocean freight, import duty, dealer preparation, rigging, controls, and a propeller. A motor that costs 40% less inside a shipping container can land within a few thousand of the incumbent by the time it is bolted to your transom. The discount is real. It is just smaller than the thumbnail promised, and it narrows every single year. And tariffs are a large part of why it narrows. Section 301 duties have applied to Chinese imports since 2018, hitting more than 300 components and materials this industry uses every day, which means they raise the cost of American-built engines too. China answered with retaliatory duties on American boats and engines. Then came 2025, and a wave of tariffs imposed under emergency economic powers. In February 2026, the Supreme Court ruled those particular tariffs unlawful, with importers owed refunds, and by that spring, they had been reimposed under a different statute anyway. Brunswick told investors it expects $35 to $45 million of incremental net tariff impact this year. Instead, it absorbed most of the first quarter's hit rather than pass it straight through. Follow that money. Trade policy has not stopped the Chinese engines. It has raised the price of every engine, whatever flag is on the cowling. Meanwhile, the flank nobody guarded is electric, and there a Chinese company genuinely leads. E-Propulsion started in 2012 out of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, moved to Shenzhen and Dongguan, took venture money from Lightspeed's China arm, and built a range of direct-drive outboards with no gearbox at all. In 2025, it closed another funding round, expanded its research centers, launched an ultra-portable surface drive line aimed squarely at tenders and dinghies, and pushed into Australia through a local distribution partner. Parsun followed the same year with its Joy series, 4 to 15 kilowatts, sold straight through the dealer network it already owned, and positioned explicitly as a swap for small 4-stroke petrol engines. That positioning is the entire strategy, not the offshore market, the dinghy, the tender, the lake boat, the kicker. Quiet, no fuel, no winterizing, no carburetor gumming up over 8 months in a garage. For an enormous number of boat owners, that is the whole use case. The incumbents saw it coming. In April 2024, Yamaha completed its purchase of Torqeedo from the German engine maker Deutz. Torqeedo, founded in Starnberg in 2005, is widely regarded as the world leader in electric marine propulsion, holding more than 250 patents across motors, propellers, and electrical systems, with a range spanning half a kilowatt to 100. Deutz sold the business for a high double-digit million euro figure and booked a gain on it. Yamaha, the largest outboard manufacturer in the world, did not out-engineer the disruption. It bought it and plugged it into the largest dealer network on the planet. Mercury has been working the same problem from the other direction, introducing keyless engine starting, over-the-air performance upgrades pushed to an outboard the way your phone updates itself, and an 808 horsepower concept at the top of the range. Those are not the moves of complacent companies. They are the moves of companies that read the same reports you did 5 years earlier. Which leaves the question this entire genre keeps dodging. If the Big Four are innovating, gaining share, and selling everything they build, why would any of them cut your price? In the first quarter of 2026, the US outboard engine industry grew 6%, and Mercury's retail units were up around 11%. Brunswick guided to somewhere between $5.6 and $5.8 billion in net sales for the year. Demand is not collapsing. Demand is healthy. In a healthy market with 4 dominant suppliers, facing a customer base that keeps signing 10 and 15-year loans on depreciating hulls, is not a market under any pressure to get cheaper.
The thing pricing you off the water is not a factory in Suzhou. It is a market in which you have no leverage. And a Chinese motor with no dealer near you and no resale value does not hand you any. One viewer worked out the only honest answer left to him. He fishes a few times a year now and simply hires a guide, because it is somebody else's boat, somebody else's engine, and somebody else's repair bill. So here's what actually matters when you are standing in front of one of these engines with your wallet out. First, distance. How far is the nearest shop that will touch it, and will that shop still exist in 5 years? Second, parts commonality. Does anything on that engine interchange with what a normal marine dealer already stocks? Because Hidea's Yamaha compatibility is worth more than every feature on the brochure combined. Third, the warranty term. And who physically honors it, the distributor or the factory? Fourth, insurance. Because underwriters price unfamiliar equipment as unknown risk. Fifth, resale, which is quietly where the saving goes to die. Get those 5 right, and a Chinese outboard is a genuinely good buy. Get them wrong, and you have bought a very cheap way to be stranded 40 miles offshore, waiting on a part that ships from another continent. Sticker price gets you home. A service network keeps you there. Subscribe for the truth behind the headlines.